Okay. All right. So here I'm going to talk about two different things today. One is a blog for just a regular generic blog. And then the second one is going to be for around a content cluster. And then I'm going to do some separate videos for the affiliate sites because those are a little bit more technical. You got to pay attention a little bit more so you don't break the Amazon codes. So this one will be pretty simple, so it shouldn't take that long. But I want you guys to fully understand this because I keep seeing, actually, now I'm seeing new mistakes. But really, really pay attention to what we're doing here. So this is a recent blog that was just loaded, I think, yesterday. I don't know who taught you guys to bold these things. Stop doing that. Okay. Do not bold anything except for like, a bullet point, with a semicolon. Don't bold words inside the text. So hold on here. First of all, it's super ugly, especially on mobile. So it's more for users. It does absolutely nothing for Google. So stop doing that. This blog is about WordPress. Okay, so when there's something specific, we have plenty of stuff to link to just WordPress. Okay, so this first link is going to the impact of responsive design and affordable web projects. Okay, it can do a responsive forever. First of all, you can link it to a responsive blog, but I would rather have it go to a WordPress blog. We actually are a WordPress theme. We actually have a page that's about WordPress themes. So when you go and look at pages, it's very simple to search WordPress in the pages and find out what we already have about WordPress. Here we are, custom built WordPress themes. That link would have made much more sense than going off to a responsive one. So if you're writing content or we're posting content about a specific, really super specific like WordPress, we want to keep those links within WordPress. We don't want to have a link outside that silo. Okay, so here's one: leverage WordPress web design for transformative digital presence. That would have been a great link. Okay, so just pay attention to what you're linking. The most important thing that we do is the internal linking. Okay, so the other link on here, designing a fashion blog with WordPress, it goes to the regular web design and development page. Again, I would rather have it go to a WordPress page. Okay, so we'll just kind of remember what we're doing this stuff for. Yeah, it's about web design. That's a given. It's even maybe some responsive web design. Okay, but it's about WordPress. So when you guys have that, make sure you're paying attention to that internal linking. Remember, one link to a blog and the first link to the page. So the very first link towards the top should be going to the page that we want to kind of boost, that we want to make sure that we're sending all the power to. Okay, so two things with this one. Okay, don't highlight or bold or italic anything in paragraphs. Just bullet point type stuff. I don't. Again, we need to go back and we need to fix all these because it's the past 5 or 6 blogs. They all have this stuff, so we need to go back and unbold all that stuff. Not this stuff, but the ones inside paragraphs or sentences. Okay. Also, get in the habit of removing the word conclusion. Okay. It's an AI tag that people pay attention to. So if you just get rid of that and just move this paragraph up, that'll be totally fine. Okay. I'm happy that you guys are using the about us stuff, which is awesome. We need to make sure we're doing that on everything. Okay. So remember, when you're doing normal blogs and the blog's about a certain topic, make sure your internal links are within that topic. Okay. If it's a really specific topic like WordPress or, there's some other ones up there about, versus content, you want to be as very specific with your links as you can. Okay. Don't just haphazardly go after it. But just remember, we have all these pages, especially in Salterra. There's over 200 pages. And these are the first links that we want to link into in the blog as a page. When you go to a post, there's almost 300 posts. So you could even go to the category WordPress. and there's all kinds of pages you guys can link to. Okay. So just please pay attention to those two things, because if you do it haphazardly, it's not going to have the same effect that we're going after. Okay. So whatever we need to do to go back and fix all this stuff on all these clients, if they were done the same way, we really need to do that. So before any more content is loaded, I want to go back to the prior ones that we've done and fix those. So I know Amber's out, but we need somebody kind of spearheading this thing, Miss Elizabeth, if we can figure out how to do that. Okay.
Yeah, I need to also connect with Amber and then make sure Jello's on board so that he can spot check if her and I are out, but.
Exactly.
Okay, there's also an issue. Well, first of all, we're not going to be doing a ton of bullets and lists because that's just irritating. And if you look back at the history of the blogs, even on Salterra, it was not formatted that way. I'm going to get the new server set up, so we may be changing how we do our ChatGPT stuff so that we are more consistent and get a better response from that.
Yeah, I do like bulleted points and numbered posts or numbered points, and so does Google. So just remember they do. So it might be a formatting nightmare, but it just takes a little bit longer. So, but again, that's
There's one thing that Amber was asking about, like categories. Like, do you not want them to create categories? Do you want them to create categories? I want to make sure I get
if they're like, we're going to, in the next video, when we start doing a content cluster, there's not a category that we're getting ready to do. So yes, we need to make sure the categories are there, but for the most part, unless they're a brand new client, they probably are. Now, one of the things that we used to do is I used to go in and I would do all the categories before we even started blogging. That way they just have to select one. So either, we can make that part of the onboarding process. Amber can do it because it really doesn't take any time to go in there and put in 6 categories or 8 categories or whatever. So that's the reason why we do that, though, is because I like to redirect those categories to the page and then have those blogs at the bottom of that page. So that's the whole reason that, we did categories that way in the first place. So,
okay.
But I don't want people arbitrarily making categories because they think something's different than something else, because then we're just going to have a whole bunch of random categories. So like Salterra, you should never have to make a category in Salterra. Gordy Roofing, you should never have to make one after today because there was one missing. But the clients that have Botify, you should never have to make a category for Botify. So, So, but that's the whole thing. But a brand new client, like, the one that we just took on, Nagy Properties, a realtor, yeah, we're going to have to do some categories. So, but yeah, we can do all that. Okay. All right. So the next one we're going to talk about is press release blogs. Okay. So press release blogs are a little bit different. The press release blogs, we do a number of different things with them. Okay. So they typically have more links, more internal links. So it's not surprising that, you may have 4 or 5 links going into different pages. The reason we do this is because this press release is about to get 1,000 links right to this page. So we can do that by so-called spreading the wealth out. So understand, when you get a backlink, if that backlink has a power of 100 and it comes into whatever page it's linking to, that power 100 goes dispersed by all the other links on the page. Okay. So that's totally fine with press releases because we get so many of those links. If we were just building 1 backlink or 2 backlink from Skylar and John's program, then we wouldn't be putting that many internal links on the page. We stick with our 2, okay? Or maybe 3 because we have them in the contact area. So go ahead.
Would we know what kind of power those links have or no?
No, you don't. So,
okay.
And that goes on to the stacking system, which is over on Skylar and John's side. So, but the press release is different because it's always in a third-party voice. Okay, so it's going to be a little bit different than writing a blog about, the power of schema compared to announcing something, like our schema course has been launched. Okay. So everything's in a third party thing. So, and we talk about if it's two different things, like I've got press releases for when I take on a new client. So I'll send one backlink to their web page, one backlink to our web page. So they're a little bit different. You just have to load them the same way. Again, copy them. So when you have another press release come up, it's pretty easy to go to the press release category. Grab the most recent one, and that's the one you use as a template. Okay. If it's, for Salterra, you don't need to change a bunch of stuff. Okay. So all this stuff down here would stay the same about Salterra. All this stays the same. Okay. So the only thing difference is the stuff above. Now, one of the things I want to get everybody in the habit of, if we can, this kind of changes my own thing. Hold on. Anyways, that's one of my tools. But I want to start building with the backend builder. Okay, so the backend builder in my mind is so much simpler to copy a new page because you leave certain sections alone. Okay, so when we come into one of the things we're not doing with these Salterra blogs, can anybody see what we're missing in our blogs here that we're doing for Salterra? What's missing? Anybody?
I don't see your author thing at the bottom, right?
Yeah, the author thing's there. Why trust
Is
Salterra?
it, I don't know, you're bouncing around fast. I don't know what, well, it says conclusion and you hate that.
Well, but what else is missing?
I don't know.
FAQ.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so when you build with when you do a new blog, for instance, you know what? I want to do it with Salterra Digital Services.
So this one you did, and you did with the backend builder consistently, right?
Yeah.
So that you had those, the FAQ, because we're trying to save those FAQs as in the library is what we're trying to do.
And that's what you want to do. That's what I was going to show you guys. You want to have, you want to save that stuff in the libraries big time. Okay. So like here's my frequently asked questions about web design. And here's my about us. So when I copy this page over, I just keep these two, don't even touch them. I just change this with the blog information and I'm done. So it makes it, in my mind, a lot cleaner, a lot simpler, a lot faster if we do it that way. And then, yeah, like you said, you keep these in the library, obviously check them if they're there. Do you guys know how to pull things out of the library? Have you taught them that, Elizabeth?
I think that they know how to do that, but I will do an additional training if I need to.
Because because every time that I want to get in the habit of having a bunch of these FAQs in the library. So if we do one about SEO, we pull out the SEO FAQ. If we do it on about web design, we pull down the web design FAQ. Super simple, super fast. I literally did 20 blogs on Saturday. So that's how fast you can do these things when it's set up this way. Okay. So just remember that you want to work simpler, not harder. Okay. So start using the Aveda builder. Start using the Aveda builder, and it's just going to make everybody's job that much easier. Okay. It makes it quick and simple. Okay. Because you never have to change these. And you just call them out when you bring in a new container. You just bring in the new templated container that's already saved in the library. It's super simple.
And the new kids may not know, but that blue line that says container, you can rename that so you know what is what if you end up closing them out.
Yeah, you can name this FAQ web design. I can name this about Salterra. Simple. Okay. One of the things that I'm seeing also is you guys are not using Grammarly Pro. So I don't know how we can get that in there, but when I bring up a blog like this one's scheduled.
Well, I think they are using it. It's just, I don't know if the setup from your chat string is working correctly. I think that that's something I need to dig deeper in with them.
Okay, remember center all images. You
Yeah.
also need to look at the text. Okay,
Yep.
so somebody's not there again. All this crap has to be out of there. You're taking away our formatting for the actual website. So all this font weight stuff needs to be gone.
I know they're copying and pasting without using the text side, and we have had conversations with that. They're gonna go through and clean up a lot of the div codes and stuff. Because if you paste directly from ChatGPT or from a Word doc, all that formatting stays, and we need it stripped out because it's messing with stuff.
Exactly. This link, medical marketing campaigns, is going to internet marketing services. I have medical marketing pages. Okay. So again, go back in and see what pages are there. If you mention the word medical, I have medical stuff. If this has been roofing marketing, I have roofing pages. So just again, pharmaceutical marketing, I'd unbold these, please, as soon as possible. Boost your search engine optimization goes to an SEO friendly web design key strategies. Okay, so this is about medical, I'm assuming, without seeing everything. So we need to make sure that we're staying within that medical silo. Okay, yeah. But that's the biggest thing is you guys have to do, you have to stay within the silo. Medical marketing has its own silo. There's all kinds of blogs and all kinds of pages for medical marketing. So make sure that you check that. Okay. But again, this would be a good one to come in and say container, library of containers. Don't have my call to action here.
New CTA.
No,
inside page.
No, I was looking for the frequently
Call to
asked
action
questions.
new?
No, I was looking for the frequently asked questions.
Oh.
But you can just place it right in there. Now it has the toggles.
And just so that you guys know, if it's a library saved container and you go in and make an edit, it is across the board wherever that container shows. So don't edit those library containers unless it's like a mistake you're correcting. And don't try to change it for one particular page or post, because that'll mess up the whole thing. Because if it's on 20 different, pages or 20 different blog posts, then you're going to change it on all 20 of those. So it's an all or nothing on those library containers. So that's why you need to be judicious about any changes or edits, and they should be correct when you save them or don't save them.
One of these things too, and this is kind of going really technical, but this blog's about infographics. It would make sense to have a picture of an infographic. Like, I don't know if we can find one from Deposit Photos or whatever, but just pay attention to stuff like that. Okay, so we need to be better. Okay, especially as we grow, we're going to be doing all kinds of stuff like this. PDFs and all kinds of things are going to be thrown at you. But just make sure that if we're talking about an infographic, we probably should have an infographic example in the blog. So that type of thing. And I know Elizabeth has some that she could probably even load up there from years ago, and we can reuse. Okay. So any questions on regular blog loading? Do you guys understand what we're trying to accomplish here?
I really want you guys to ask questions, because after these trainings, there's no reason for mistakes to continue to happen. So please speak up. I will never be upset if you're not clear and don't understand, because I want to make sure that we are communicating clearly across the board so that these mistakes stop happening.
Yeah, 100%.
I have a question on the categories for the blog post. Is it required to have only one category per blog post, or we can have more? Or should we stay with just one?
Before when you load it live, you only want one. After it's loaded live, you can go back and add in a second one. I typically don't add more than two, maybe three if I'm doing a versus article like WordPress versus Joomla or something. But you don't want to have a whole bunch of categories because now you're getting into that duplicate content type of thing. Okay, so because remember, Google just crawls a page, and if Google keeps crawling a page that it's a category page, and we have that a blog has 5 different categories, Google's going to see that same blog 5 times. So we want to just be very strategic about categories. The main category, and then maybe a secondary, sometimes a third, but that's pretty much it. And then no tags ever. We never ever use tags. So tags are a freaking nightmare to get rid of once they're start. Okay. A good question, Jello. Thank you. Anybody else?
Okay, thank you.
Another question
Okay.
on saving the FAQs on the library. Do we need to stick like the global checkbox all
No,
the
you
time?
don't want. Nope, you don't want to save them as a global.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Good question. So
Isn't global what we want? Why do we not want to save it as global?
because again, I don't want to. Sometimes we're going to change, or I'm going to go in and change stuff. So like you said, if you do it global, then one change changes them all. I would rather have the flexibility of not being global. And if I wanted to change one page, maybe I do a different link or something in there, but I like that flexibility. So
Okay.
I don't like anything global except for, I don't even like the way we're, that we've
I know you have an issue with some of the global things, but it does make our life better and easier as a designer.
It does, but it makes my life harder as a SEO if I want to put a different menu system on a page or do a different footer, that type of thing. It becomes a pain in the butt. So, but it's fine. We're dealing with it. So,
did you record this? I don't think you did.
I did.
Okay.
I have it recorded on my whatchamacallit.
Okay.
I didn't do it with Zoom because I don't want it because I don't want to have to stop Zoom and everybody re-sign in again.
Okay.
Okay. So, all right. So this recording